Hello and welcome to the Alpha Movement, where I will be discussing training, mindset and nutrition with experts from all over the world. This is a movement redefining what it means to be alpha. Hello and welcome to episode number 4 of the Alpha Movement podcast. So today we've got Hugh Robinson from the Weight Loss Academy, which is theweightlossacademy.co.uk, and today we talk about flexibility in dieting, carbohydrates versus fat. We talk about the mindset and tactics to change your mindset. I go on a bit of a rant about children's movement patterns and putting them in shoes, and we talk about why fats are important and having fun in training as well. Fun in training is something that's hugely underestimated. But without further ado, here is Hugh Robinson on the Alpha Movement podcast. Hello and welcome to episode number 4 of the Alpha Movement podcast. Today we have Hugh Robinson with us from the Weight Loss Academy. So here's to you, Mr. Robinson. Why don't we go over a bit of background about where you've kind of come from and where you are now?
Yeah, man. So, hi, I'm Hugh, and thanks for having me on, Tom. So I'm working fully online now. I'm a nutrition coach. I work with a lot of people, mostly trying to lose weight. So I focus on building habits as opposed to giving them, like, a lot of people, when I speak to them, they're like, oh, right, so you just do like food plans and stuff. I'm like, no, I do a lot more than that. So, you know, a lot of the guys I speak to, they kind of know what they need to eat. And I think a lot of the time it's building habits and healthy habits into people's lifestyles. So, you know, making kind of long-term changes as opposed to like quick faddy fixes. And I'm really big on flexibility and balance. You know, everything I promote is about having like a balanced life. So, you know, it's easy to kind of cut out food groups when you're dieting and trying to lose weight and, you know, being really restrictive, but that's not something I believe in. And I think it's all about having balance, and I think flexible dieting is a really kind of good tool to use for that.
Yeah, it's really refreshing to hear. Really
refreshing. Yeah. I mean, I've worked with a lot of different people that have, you know, very different approaches to diet, and it tends to be, the most common one tends to be people promoting low carbohydrate, high fat diets. So I've worked with a lot of people that kind of, you know, blame carbohydrate on making you fat and blaming insulin response, but, you know, having quite a good understanding of, you know, basic science, that's not the case. It's all about thermodynamics and basically using more energy than you consume to lose weight. And, you know, that's a concept that's been around for a very long time. You know, it's a law of physics, and that's not going to change. So we just need to refresh our approach with how we implement that, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. There's like the opposing kind of force, or the opposing thoughts kind of are epitomized by Gary Taubes, like good calories, bad calories and stuff like that. What do you kind of think of that idea that, well, obviously you mentioned that fat is or low carbohydrate diets, aren't necessarily the way to go. Like, why is that?
So mostly for sustainability reasons. So I'll just go back to what you're saying there. And one thing I tell people is not to, and it's easier said than done, but not to have an emotional attachment to certain foods, in the sense that if you perceive a food as being good or bad, you know, eventually you'll probably have a food that's on your bad list that you eat. And then when you do eat that food, you're going to be, you know, overwhelmed with guilt, which, you know, then spurts on, you know, other kind of issues of eating. But if you're balanced and you just know food's nutritional value, you can include those foods that may not be, you know, that nutritious, but you can still reach your goals. So, for example, not at the moment, but, you know, on and off, I quite like a bag of crisps here and there. And as a food, that is probably one of the like most nutritionally void substances about. Like, there's nothing to it. There's no kind of nutrition to it. It's just like a bag of, you know, processed carbohydrate and a bit of salt and flavoring. But my point that I make to people is, if I can have that in my day, it adds maybe, I don't know, 100 calories, 150 calories. But if I can have that in my day and it gives me balance and satisfaction and I'm consistent with everything else I'm eating, then it's still going to help me get to where I want to get to. You know, I don't promote, when I say flexible dieting, it's not just about like fitting your macros around your goals. You do need to eat nutritious food. It's important to eat plenty of greens and vegetables, plenty of protein, you know, drink plenty of water, and have all those basics and that kind of foundation of healthy, you know, food in place. But it is important to include the foods you enjoy.
Absolutely is. I personally have followed a few things where you restrict, and it is fucking boring, to be honest with you. It's hard work.
Definitely. Yeah. Going back to the your question on, you know, low carbohydrate diet. So personally, you know, carbohydrate is an important nutrient for the body. You know, it's not. I don't understand when people take out an entire food group when people are trying to reach their goals, and it just seems kind of, I'm just perplexed by it, because you know, you need carbohydrate to function. You need it for energy. You need it for muscle stimulus. You need it for brain function. I know, like I for a long time, well, not for a long time, but for a while, I tried to follow a low carbohydrate diet, and I felt awful. I had no energy. I had no concentration. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't sleep properly, and you know, it just made me feel horrible. And you know, some people will say like, "Oh yeah, I feel good on it," but I think generally, if you're moving about and you're exercising, you need carbohydrate. And I think one of the reasons why it's popular is because things like pasta and rice and bread are easily overeaten. You know, portions for those tend to be huge. So by swapping those out for kind of higher fat foods, people can end up eating less calories and therefore losing weight. But you can lose weight just by keeping a balance and having fat, having carbohydrate and protein in your day-to-day nutrition, just reducing those overall calories in those portions. So yeah, for me, it's always about balance. And to be honest, when you look at the satiety index, carbohydrate and starchy carbohydrate is one of the most filling foods you can eat. So
just to clarify for everyone, just go over what the satiety index is.
So very, very basically, it's just a way of judging how filling a food is. So protein, source of protein, meat and things are always going to be very filling. Fiber is very filling. It takes, you know, a long time to digest. But carbohydrate and starchy carbohydrate, oats and rice and things like that, are very high up there as well. So they are filling. I think one of the cases with carbohydrate, and again with the portion size, and it's sometimes, you know, when people are hungry, they tend to wolf down their meals, and they're not really slowing it down. They eat before they're full, and then when it kicks in, they're stuffed and they can't function. So I think starting with a smaller portion and spacing your meal out, and you know, having like water between mouthfuls and stuff is a really, really simple tool to eat less. Like I've used that with a client in the past, and they lost weight. I like, that was the first thing I did with them, and they lost loads of weight because they were quite stressed and they were eating their meals in a rush.
Yeah, that completely makes sense.
Yeah, just slowing it down. You know, that's part of coaching as well. You're not just looking at the foods that people eat, you're looking at how they're eating and their habits around eating. Are they sat in front of the TV eating? Are they on the go eating? Or are they having a meal with their family? You know, it's all about looking at the bigger picture and seeing, you know, how they live and
So that's a very important point. I think you've mentioned habits quite a few times. I know, like, from knowing you before and obviously your website and stuff, that habits are a big thing about what you do. So what are kind of the biggest poor habits that you've seen, and also what are kind of like the good habits that you've implemented?
So everything I see is always about perfectionism and the all or nothing approach. So everyone has this approach where it's like, oh, well, I was good on this day, but I was bad on this day. And they don't really look at the bigger picture. They just think like, oh, well, I had a dairy milk yesterday, so that was bad. And then like today I've just eaten clean, so it's good. But it's, again, as I said, it's about the bigger picture. So the habits I implement in people, you basic things first of all. So making sure they're hydrated, I think, is the most important thing first of all. Then making sure they've got a good routine, they're getting good sleep, they're managing their stress, they're getting up in the morning and they've got a good routine, so they're not just rolling out of bed, inhaling some food and then running to work and getting in the car, which I know a lot of people do. So it's making sure they have, first of all, a routine in place. Second of all, it's important they kind of know what they're eating and know about foods and stuff. So one of the things I do is educate people about fat, about protein, about fiber, about carbohydrate, about sugar, so people understand foods a bit more, in depth kind of look. Yeah, they have more of an in-depth look at that sort of food, because a lot of the people don't really understand what certain foods groups or nutrients are for, or what they do and how important they are, or people oh, well, sugar's bad, isn't it? I shouldn't be eating sugar. It's not. It's just if you eat a lot of it, it's probably going to affect your energy. But if you're having it as part of a balanced meal, then it's not. And it's again,
Absolutely.
it's down to the media and stuff. People are always going to promote certain diets and certain things as being good and bad because it sells their products, it sells their diets. But there's no money to be made really, long term, for diet companies to say, well, it's just about having balance. You can eat foods you enjoy, and you just have to watch what you're eating and make sure you're exercising. But
yeah, 100%. You've touched on some really, really good points there. But just to kind of bring it back, just in case anyone was confused beforehand, you've said that carbs are not to be kind of demonized, but that doesn't mean that fats are bad, does it?
No. So again, when I've posted stuff in the past about this, people have been like, "Oh, why are you promoting low fat diets?" Which I'm not. You need a base level of fat in your diet. It's important to have fats in your diet. Again, they're important for a lot of functions, for general health, for your brain function. Fat is important. And when I look at someone's diet and we're working out their fat needs, there'll be a minimum amount that I always recommend. For most people, it's at least kind of a gram of fat per kilogram of body weight, so it's quite a bit. But some people, if people are promoting kind of low carbohydrate diets, that might go up to 2 grams of fat per kilogram of body weight, which means they're eating next to no carbs. So it's just about getting balance really. And I keep saying it, but it is simple. I say this to people: weight loss is simple, it's just not easy.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what are you doing in terms of training at the moment, buddy?
My training's a little bit sporadic at the moment. I'm kind of just experimenting with a few things. So I joined a CrossFit gym recently, mainly because I just wanted something a little bit more challenging, a bit more kind of fun. I was just a bit bored of just doing the same kind of weightlifting stuff. So, sometimes I do the WODs, the workouts. Sometimes I just do my own thing. So, at the moment I'm trying to focus mostly on kind of my heavy main lifts. So I'll do, deadlifts, squats, bench press, overhead press, some sort of row pull up, and then been doing a lot of handstand work as well, and handstand press ups, and trying to kind of get a bit more proficient at that. And it's just working on basic movements really, trying to get a lot more mobile. So I've been doing a lot of yoga. And then just doing stuff for fun, mountain biking, and I went trampolining yesterday, so stuff like that, just keeping it fun. Just making sure I get enjoyment out of it, really. It's the main thing.
As we were discussing before we started recording, you're making things really fun, and it's really refreshing to see. Personally, probably 6 months back, so I got to a point where I was just doing pretty much the same thing over and over again. Even though I was developing at the program, I was still in the gym for the same amount of time, I was doing the same amount of movements, and it just got really boring. And also I pushed myself too far. So seeing you doing training for fun, for example, that video that we were talking about yesterday, where it was like gladiators, wasn't it? You're knocking people off a balance beam. That looked awesome, and I think that's something that's really underrated.
Definitely, man. Yeah. So I say, when I was a personal trainer, I always I was always promoting strength training as the best source of fat loss, which, strength training is important, but I think just getting out the house and doing stuff is the key. Like, most people just don't move. They kind of, most people work in an office, their day-to-day routine is they roll out of bed, drive to work, sit in the office all day, drive home, have some food, sit in front of the TV, go to bed. They barely move. So getting out of the house and moving, I always say just start with walking. That is the simplest kind of form of exercise. Just get out of the house and just move and get some fresh air. It's good for you. But, after that, a lot of people I've spoken to don't like going to the gym. They find it intimidating. So it might be before they start doing that, they get into other activities. And, there's loads of different forms of exercise you can do, mountain biking, climbing, kayaking, whatever it is, just try something different. And, it could be like, next week I'm going salsa dancing just for
Nice.
a bit of fun. I'm just trying to experiment at the moment to see what I enjoy and try different things. But a lot of this
imagine
stuff,
you in
I'm
that
like,
little red dress.
yeah. But a lot of these things, I'm thinking now, like, oh, well, I'll be a bit fast, probably not going to be, that physical. But it is, like, a lot of these things I've been doing, I've finished and I'm absolutely knackered. So I'm like, well, this is a good form of fitness for people. So, yeah, think outside the box of it, because it's not just about doing the same shit day in, day out. It's just, have some variety and actually enjoy yourself. And, if you've got family and you've got kids or wife, whatever, you can fit it around them as well. Because obviously, I speak to people that have young kids. They're like, oh, I can't get away from my kids. I can't go to the gym. I'm like, well, do something with your kids. I'm sure your kids are young. They should be out having, good time, enjoying themselves as well. So go, hiking with them or whatever it is. Just do something and
just play with them. It's so like, if you watch a child move, they move so well. And it's like, if you can kind of replicate that in your own movements and your own training, it's like the results are going to be there to see.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was before this call, I was just watching an interview and some stuff on Ida Patel, and he was saying the same thing as, like, when you look at kids, they move perfectly and they don't need to work on anything. You're born to move, born to run, born to squat and move well. But as we get older and we're kind of go through this education system where we're just sat at a desk and for 8 hours solid, you just stiffen up and you kind of just restrict yourself and restrict your body from movement. And then, further down the line, the only exercise you do is kind of in school is PE, which you may do like 3 times a week or something, but it's not teaching people to move. It's just a lot of the time, well, for me anyway, it's just like kicking a football around. And yeah, movement's key, definitely.
Exactly. You're so close to pushing me into a rant right now. Movement's my thing. Like, stop putting your kids in fucking awful shoes and making them sit down all day at school. It's the worst thing ever. Like, obviously that's reflected in their grades as well, but just the way they move, it's so frustrating. Like, you see kids, like, when they get to like 4 and they start going to like reception or whatever you call it, like they're sat down all day and they start wearing those shoes and their movement goes to shit. But you look at a kid before that and they squat perfectly, they bend at the hip perfectly, they have a neutral spine, and it's just crazy. And then obviously you get to work and sit down, as you said, for 10 hours a day. Like, mind blown. Anyway, rant over.
No, definitely. Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, I've been thinking about this more and more recently, and I think incorporating some sort of yoga and gymnastics day to day for everyone is a good way of getting moving and getting those basics back if you've lost them. But as you're growing up with kids and stuff, I think those sort of things are good to do. But
yeah, just moving through full range of motion, and it's unloaded as well for people, so the stress of it's going to be that much easier to tolerate.
Yeah, definitely. Like yoga, you can start at any level. When I started doing yoga, I was terrible. I was so stiff and I could barely move, and it was a little bit painful as well getting into these positions. But I do it on a daily basis now. Not for hours at a time. I tend to just do kind of like 20-minute stints. But
how long ago did you start?
I mean, I probably kind of got into it maybe a year ago, maybe less now, maybe 6 months ago. It's just the sort of thing I do in my living room, but I'd like to get into it a bit more and go to classes and stuff. And as you're aware, I'm moving to Thailand in a month. So when I'm living over there, I'll be doing a lot more movement-based stuff. I probably won't be lifting weights anymore. My plan is to try and get involved with some Muay Thai, some gymnastics, and loads of yoga. So just move loads and focus on that really, and like be a bit more free with the way I move.
Yeah, that's very refreshing, and also you can spend so much time outside there as well, just moving, and that's going to be awesome for you. And I'm just so jealous of you living in Thailand for a bit.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
ridiculously jealous. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, it's going to be a good trip.
Yeah, it will be. How long are you out there for?
Indefinitely.
Yes, that's what I like to hear. Sorry to like just completely change the course of the conversation, but what do you see in terms of mindset is the big thing holding people back?
Yeah, I always say it always starts in the mind, and I know from my personal experience, any kind of boundary you have is created by yourself. Like the only chains you have are those that you create in your mind. So a lot of it's all down to fear, really. Fear of change. So a lot of people, when I'm speaking to them, about their goals and them wanting to lose weight and why they haven't lost weight, it's always down to fear. There's always a voice in the back of their head saying you can't do this, you don't want to change, and it's all about stepping outside that comfort zone. So as soon as you decide you want to do something differently from your day-to-day life and you want to challenge yourself, straight away you're going to have that voice and that resistance in the back of your head saying not to do it, because your subconscious wants to be comfortable. It doesn't want to change, and you have to fight against that first, and consistently work against that. But over time it becomes easier. And one thing I try and do, and have done for a long time now, is do something every single day to push me outside my comfort zone, whatever it is. It could be cooking a recipe I've not cooked before. It could be go for a walk somewhere I've not been before. It could be, absolutely smashing it in the gym. It could be, going and speaking to someone, and something, just anything to push myself outside of that comfort zone and just get regularly used to doing that. And I think it just becomes easier to break those boundaries as well.
Exactly. Growth will only happen outside your comfort zone. Like there's that Tony Robbins quote, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. And that's exactly what you've just said.
Yeah, 100%. Like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I kind of started doing, making some huge leaps and taking big risks with what I do, and traveling and things like that. And, it was really uncomfortable. I used to still do occasionally, but I used to struggle massively with anxiety, and I'd have these huge fears about things. And I'd constantly try and, I didn't really understand it at the time. I just kind of tried to, push it back and do what I wanted to do. But now I look at it, and I think anytime you're going to have a breakthrough, you're always going to have those fears and have some sort of anxiety behind it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's part of overcoming a challenge, but you overcome it, and you're gonna get something good from it.
Exactly. Is that the main way you've been working on anxiety? Is that like just doing stuff that you fear?
Pretty much, yeah.
Nice.
I kind of embrace it and just, sometimes it's a little bit irrational, and I get it, about stupid stuff that doesn't really matter, and I kind of rationalize it and realize that it's not real. But when I'm looking at doing stuff like this trip to Thailand, I was kind of, I wanted to do it, but I did have a massive fear. I was like, gosh, what if this doesn't work out? What if this happens? Like, I just thought, what, fuck it, I'm just going to book it. I'm going to take that leap. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But at least I tried.
Yeah, that's a brilliant attitude to have. Just fuck it. Just do it anyway.
Yeah.
Brilliant. If you don't mind, we're going to go into some quick fire questions. Like
no worries.
The questions will be quick, but you can take as long as you want to answer.
Okay.
Yeah. So, if you could tell the world one message, what would it be? It's a big one.
Live limitlessly.
Yeah, nice. That was a quick fire answer as well. Good effort. What does it mean to you to be alpha?
Be yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Can you expand on that bit?
Okay. Yeah, for a long time I was always trying to fit in and stuff at school and at university, and I realise now I get a lot more respect from people because I am myself and I don't try to be like other people. I do my own thing, and people respect that. People are like, well, fair play to you, because I couldn't do that. And it's the message I try and send to people. It's like, stop trying to live a certain way to impress whoever it is. And a lot of the time it's people's parents have this kind of imprint on them, but I think it's so important just to work out what you want to do and just fucking do it. Just do whatever it takes and just work towards whatever it is you want to do. But, try and be yourself and have your own kind of approach to things and do what you want. Like, that's one thing, especially very recently, I've started doing. I'm just like doing all this stuff that I've wanted to do for so long, but I've just put it off because I'm like, oh, it's not cool. Like, it's going to look weird if I do stuff like that, but fuck it,
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
No, it's really cool to see. Like, sorry, I'll start the sentence again. You're actually inspiring me to do shit as well, just by putting it out there. The fact that you're kind of, for example, Thailand, or going and having fun when you're training, it's good. It's refreshing to hear.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Next question: what are the most important things you do every day for your health?
For my health,
Yeah.
meditate.
Yeah.
For my mental health, the way I eat and having that balance in my diet for my nutrition, and exercise, whether it's lifting weights, gymnastics, just going for a walk, but doing something to exercise my body and every single day.
Yeah, good. I'm yet to find someone for this show that doesn't say meditate to that answer. I think it's so underrated. Yeah,
definitely, man. I mean, I tell people more and more like how important it is, and some people get it, but a lot of people are like, there's this stigma behind it, and it's like, it's a bit weird. I don't really want to do it, and
yeah,
I don't really understand it, but it does help massively.
I personally think it'll get to a kind of tipping point where it's just like, it's considered normal, and it's nothing more than sitting down and observing what you're thinking, or just chilling out for a bit.
Yeah, I think that's the problem though. People don't understand what it is. People are like, think you're going to sit there with candles, like umming and ahhing, and they don't really get what it is. But it's very simply just kind of being in tune with your thoughts and your emotions. It's just stripping back to the basics.
Yeah, and it completely stops that kind of that rush that everyone's got in their mind, where it's like, I've got to do this thing, I've got to do that thing, and the more you meditate, the more you realise that you can take control of what you're doing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Next question. Sorry, let me start that again. I can't speak this morning. Obviously not enough caffeine. What do your friends or your audience consider you world class at?
Probably conquering anxiety. I've been through a lot, and I've overcome a lot of issues, but I talk openly about my past and struggling through anxiety and depression. But yeah, probably overcoming that, I guess, and becoming more confident. I used to be the quietest kid, the kid that had like no confidence whatsoever. I was kind of looking at the floor when I was walking about. I couldn't speak to anyone. And now I'm getting into public speaking and just speaking openly about who I am and what I do and stuff. And yeah, just building and refining that confidence.
Good stuff. And what's the most important book you've ever read?
Or
two or three. Sorry.
Okay, I'll give you a couple. Yeah. So, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Great book.
I think by Dale Carnegie. That was an incredible book, and I think that's definitely highlights some of the issues that we have as a society, and the way we speak to each other, and the way we address each other, and the way that management's run through companies. And it's just a really enlightening book about how your attitude can change everything. I think The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, that's an incredible book, and it just focuses on you being present, and it's a really good way of kind of simplifying everything in your mind. And it's just all about, as with that thing with like happiness it's just about being in the present. There's no point worrying about what's going to happen in the future, because that's not real, and the stuff that's happened in the past is just a memory. So all that matters is what's happening now in the present. So yeah, I think that's a great book.
Yeah, I'd second that. I think Paul McGregor mentioned that as well.
Yeah, no, definitely is a very, very good book. I've recently read The Chimp Paradox as well by
who is it? I can't remember.
Stephen Peters, I think.
Yeah, something like that. I'll quickly Google it.
Yeah, so that's a great book as well, and it talks about managing your inner chimp and how you have essentially two thought processes. You have your human and your chimp, and human's the logical, rational thinker, and your chimp is more like the emotional thinker that can, sometimes be rash and be a bit more aggressive sometimes and a bit more, irrational. And it's all about managing that chimp. And it's a very simple way of looking at how your mind works, but it's once you've read that book, certain things and the way you think about things kind of changes completely, and you just like now if I'm starting to get angry about stuff or something upsets me, I'm just like, no, this is just my inner chimp, and I just need to manage that and just need to be a bit more rational with my thoughts and control that. But yeah, that was a great book as well.
Yeah, it's very good. Steve Peters, Dr. Steve Peters.
Yeah,
that's who it is. Yeah, cool. Thank you very much for stay. Finally, is there anywhere we can send people to find out a bit more about you and the Weight Loss Academy?
Yeah, I mean, my personal page on Facebook is just Hugh Robinson. Feel free to add me on there if you want. Or my Facebook page is just Facebook.com/The Weight Loss Academy UK. And yeah, just feel free to drop me a message if you want to chat. I always like hearing when I put videos out and people like talk about their issues and stuff, because I think a lot of the time people don't have people they feel they can talk to about their issues. So it's always nice when people reach out and share the problems they're going through, and I can help them with that.
Absolutely. And I'd encourage people to keep their eyes open, because we've got something in the pipeline, haven't we?
Yeah, man. It's
Sweet.
Be interesting.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for staying, mate.
Thank you for having me on.
Knowledge bombs dropped in there, so good work.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is all without the influence of coffee, which for me is quite challenging.
Strong effort then. Well done. Cool.
Yeah.
I'll see you soon. Cheers.
Yeah, man. Cool. Cheers. Take care.
Thank you again for listening to the Alpha Movement podcast. As ever, thank you to Oak for the kind usage of his music on the show. Check him out on iTunes. If you want to learn more about the Alpha Movement, head to Facebook.com/Alpha Movement Official.